what's up, everybody? Dan just told me he wanted to shoot himself, so we're starting off really good. I'm just kidding. Hey guys, I'm here with Dan.
Hey.
Mordecai.
Mordechai.
I'm gonna always say Mordecai.
That's okay.
Always.
He'll understand. He's used to it, I think.
When do you think Sharky will become the real player and Mordecai will become his spirit animal?
I'm afraid it's already happened. I think Sharky has vastly eclipsed Mordechai at this point.
So eventually we'll get to a point where Sharky is the actual player and we'll have to make a player card for him and everything, and then Sharky will call upon Mordecai.
It'll be like a spin-off,
yeah.
The Happy Adventures of Sharky in the astral world.
It'll get sold to another network because the expectations are low, and it'll get pushed off to somebody else's network. So Dan, this is Honesty Hour. These guys are going to ask us a lot of questions. We're going to attempt to answer them the best that we can.
All right.
I'll start with some questions though. Where are you from?
I'm from Toronto.
So wait, you're Canadian?
I am Canadian.
I didn't know I should have been judging you this entire time.
It's okay. I forgive you, as we do.
Typical Canadian.
Yeah, no. I grew up in Toronto. I lived in New York City for about a year. That was a little more 10 years ago. And then I took a job out here, and I've been here ever since.
Really? Mm-hmm. What job did you take out here?
I was working at a video game studio.
So. What are you doing now?
I'm working at a different video game studio.
Are you at Amazon?
I am at Amazon, yeah.
Nice.
So they have their Amazon Game Studio, which is fairly new. And they're attempting to make a splash, and I'm trying to help them do it.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of things, and I've been told a lot of I can't tell you anything.
Yeah,
there's been a lot of
even within Amazon, there's a lot of that. So.
Yeah, it's wait, you work there? Wait, you work there? Wait, they hired who? Man, there's some big shit going on over there. What are you guys doing? Oh, we can't tell you. Oh, cool. Okay, great.
Yeah, I can tell you that we are working on a desktop multiplayer game that's targeting the Twitch audience. So you can sort of draw the dots or connect between there.
Well, you guys did just release Lumberyard.
Mm-hmm.
Which has Twitch integration built into the engine.
It does, yeah. It's
and
pretty exciting.
I imagine if you're releasing something like that, you're probably building something with that.
We're using the Lumberyard engine in our game.
Thanks for all the resubscribes, guys, by the way.
Yeah, it's
King
awesome.
of the North, Clay BMT, Stoffern. Thank you for that. Well, I'm excited to see what you guys got coming out of there. What's it like working for a major game studio like Amazon?
You know, it's not that different from most tech jobs that I've had. In particular, the game studios there. It's just kind of like working at a startup within a larger company. And they have to do that in order to really be competitive and attract people from the industry and whatnot. So it's it's a lot of fun and a lot of hard work and a lot of stress, and some days you want to shoot yourself and some days you're super excited about the thing you're making.
Sounds like this.
Yeah, I was gonna say you might sympathize. I saw someone asking what I do there. I'm a software engineer there, so yeah, I'm programming.
Does that mean you could actually show me what the fuck Lumberyard is?
Well, I'm not actually working on Lumberyard.
You're not working on it?
I'm a consumer
Gotcha.
of Lumberyard.
Gotcha.
So I know some of the inner workings of it, but also Lumberyard, especially now that they've launched, they're moving super fast, and we're like working on an older pre-release version of it. So we're just like struggling to get to catch up. So there's actually a lot of new stuff in what's out there that we're working on, trying to get into.
We've been trying to get somebody from Amazon over here to show off Lumberyard and explain it, and they keep going like later, later. You know, like they're in like freak out mode.
I'll see what I can.
Yeah, I mean, we're really curious about it because it does have that Twitch integration, and it'd be exciting to hear like what that actually means for Twitch. Because I'm sure all you guys know, Amazon technically owns Twitch, and Kim Swift, who you guys have seen over here a couple times, is working between the two to, like facilitate all sorts of stuff. And it's exciting to think about where things will be like 2 years from now, like what's coming down the line.
Yeah, I think it's a really bold investment that Amazon is making. And I'm not just here to plug Amazon, but I mean, it is part of the reason that I went to, I went there in the first place, is I think they're seeing around the corner and they're seeing the potential that Twitch has. And, there's a lot of cool games technology that's come out, stuff like, all the VR stuff we're beginning to see and whatnot. But it's the social stuff that is really interesting, I think, and it's going to really make waves, and that they're really banking on that, and so it's exciting to be a part of that potentially.
In more ways than one.
Yeah,
you're like on the ground floor right now.
That's
like literally.
Well,
we're definitely not the top floor. No, we're barely the third floor, man. We're like, we're in the basement right now. Maybe the parking garage.
Yeah, I was referring to like my office is on the third floor.
Oh, I meant our channel.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I see some people trying to antagonize me about being Canadian. I save my A's usually for when I'm angry. Or like if I'm feeling socially awkward, then that's when they'll come out. And I don't give two shits about hockey, so.
Can I say that Toronto is probably one of my favorite cities in the world I've ever been to?
It's a pretty great city.
It blew my mind when I went there. I was there for work, filming some stuff for Ferrari on a racetrack outside of Toronto, but we got to stay in Toronto for a couple nights while we were there working. It was so fucking clean. For a major city like that, they're downtown and everything else. And this was right after the G20 summit when it had been trashed. And everyone was telling me, oh, be careful. There's a bunch of, like, things are broken and there's spray paint everywhere and all that. And I got there, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I live in downtown Kansas City right now and this shit is gorgeous. It's so pretty.
It's really great that way. There was a garbage strike. I mean, there may have been one since I was living there, but like 12 years ago. It was not pretty then.
Okay.
But pretty much every other time, yeah. That said, like I'm a big fan of the climate that's out here. Every time it's sort of drizzling and gray and miserable in the middle of winter, I think about my parents who are in like snow up to their knees or whatever, and I'm like, I can live with this.
Yeah, no, I just think about like everyone I know down in LA being like, what is 75 degrees and sunny? And I'm like,
yeah,
fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, jerks.
Good point.
Yeah.
Damn.
So what originally got you into game design?
Well, game programming is something I've done since I was a kid. I was a nerd before it was cool to be a nerd. So I was making games on like the Apple II, and even on the here's one none of you will probably know about, the Atom the electronic typewriter, which was a ColecoVision computer that they briefly put out. That was actually, the computer was part of the printer. Yeah, that's who I am. Yeah, and so I was doing like indie Game Boy Advance development back when like you couldn't easily do it. I had to like mail away for a cartridge that I could program onto and stuff like that, so I could actually test the stuff out.
Wait, so you were doing Game Boy development, but not like remotely?
I wasn't doing it for a company. It was just like something I was trying to pursue as a hobbyist, and so I was involved in all the forums for doing that. And so a company out here that was doing like Game Boy Advance games and Nintendo DS games shot me an email, and they interviewed me and they gave me a job out here, and it was my first job in video games.
So what games have you worked on that we may know of?
The probably most of the titles that people would recognize are ones I worked on probably like 10 years ago or so. There were a bunch of Game Boy Advance games and Nintendo DS games, things like Pirates of the Caribbean 3, The Sims 2, Lego Star Wars 2, a bunch of others that I have some credits on. Those were fun days. More recently, I I mean, like, I shipped my first game in like 6 years, which was The Unmaking, which was one of Amazon's first games that they released it was released after they bought Twitch, but before they sort of like pivoted their strategy. So it was a Kindle game that actually got streamed over the cloud because we were sort of experimenting with cloud technology for that. And I don't know that anyone played it.
Oh.
Actually, it got really good reviews from the
What was
few
it
people
called
that
again?
did. The Unmaking.
Did you guys play it? Let us know. The Unmaking. You'd be surprised.
Yeah. You can't get it anymore though because they phased down the streaming service eventually. It was more of a technical experiment. So.
Okay. Rimpshin wants to know if you have any tips for game devs.
My advice for game devs, it's easier than ever to actually like get started on just making shit. And like that's my advice is just like go if you're trying to get into the industry, the best way to learn is by making stuff. And there are a lot of sort of like colleges out there that offer programs and whatnot, and those are all great. But the big thing is to just go, like you can get Unity for free, you can get Lumberyard for free. Go and learn by doing, and like just make that game that you think you've always wanted to make. And you probably will like work on it really hard for a month and then realize you have to start all over again because you didn't do things in a good way, and then you'll go back and you'll fix things again and you'll never finish your game, believe me. But you will
fail and you'll learn.
Yeah, you will get so much out of that.
It's very similar to filmmaking right now where the excuses to not do it, I mean, you only have yourself. The tools are so readily available, especially for game design, because you really can buy Unity or get Unity for free and then go to sites with Unity plugins and make a game, and there's nothing stopping you but yourself at that point. Whereas there used to be a time where you had to be not necessarily privileged, but in a position to be able to use the technology.
Yeah.
And now anybody can get access to this stuff. It's pretty great.
Back when I was doing it, it was a lot harder. Like to actually, if you wanted to make a Game Boy Advance game, like I said, you had to like order from China a thing that would let you basically flash a cartridge so you could try it out on your Game Boy. Things have improved so much. So many consoles, have opened up, and there's lots of options. Go do it. It's great.
Let's get some more questions, guys. Music is drowning us out a little bit, Joe, they said. To turn it down a little.
Would you rather be a game dev or an audio engineer if you look back at your career? That's a kind of an odd question. I don't think I have particular talent with audio, so...
Did they think that you may be somebody else who also does audio engineering?
I don't know. I mean, I have done audio engineering historically, but that's not on my resume, I think, is anything in particular, so...
how do you feel about being on Twitch so far? What's your experience been like?
I love doing corporate sins. It's so much fun. And I was just saying on Twitter, like before we came to the show, I think I'm like turning into an adrenaline junkie from the intense fear that I feel like throughout the whole thing. Like Lauren just knows how to push all of my scare buttons. And I just like am so invested in this game. And I'm just loving it. And I love that you guys are entertained by it too. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think you guys have especially hit a stride now and are making something really great. And we're doing everything we can to get it out to more people and to get the word out. Because to me, it's criminal that we don't have more people watching it, because it's good. It's fun. It's really great. You guys have every week up the ante a little bit, and I'm excited to see where you guys take it. Somebody did want to know what part of Toronto you're from.
I grew up in sort of like the St. Clair and Bathurst area, but I went to school at York Memorial, which is at Keele and Eglinton. And then I went to university at McMaster, which is in Hamilton.
And what did you go to university for? Like,
I went for software engineering. In fact, it was the first actual accredited engineering program in the discipline of software in North America. So that was supposed to be pretty exciting. Program itself had some kinks to it, but it was still a good experience to go through. Fellow Canadian engineers will recognize the ring. So,
wait, the rings?
it's the Iron Ring. Engineers in Canada, when they graduate, they go through a ceremony that was actually devised by Rudyard Kipling in response to a bridge that collapsed in Quebec. They decided they needed a way to more formally induct engineers into basically the responsibility of their role. And so Rudyard Kipling came up with this whole ceremony and practically a mythology around the Iron Ring. And it's not a secret ceremony, but they say that, but it's supposed to be, I guess, kind of semi-secret. I don't know. But it involves like all of these engineering artifacts from around the world, and then the ring itself has a lot about it. You're supposed to wear it on the little finger of your working hand, so that when you're doing like your engineering diagrams, the sound it makes reminds you of your obligation.
Interesting. That's pretty cool. It's a neat little... So you've been wearing that ring for a while.
Yeah. I mostly leave it on, except when I like to spin it, because I'm bored.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Let's see, there were a couple other questions in here. Dan, are you a part of the Star Trek Improv troupe? How long have you been doing improv?
I've been doing improv since I was in university. I'm not part of the Star Trek troupe, but I have done shows with Seattle Experimental Theater, which is Janine's company, and they produce the Star Trek. I've done their Doctor Who show, in which I guested in order to play the Master. And I've done, they did a fairy tale show that I took part in. Yeah, so that, I've been doing improv. I guess, like I said, I started in university. I was part of the improv troupe there, and then I continued to do it in New York. And then I became a theater sports member here in Seattle, and I helped found Nerdprov with Tony and Cheryl. Tony, Cheryl, Janine, and a couple of others, and Lauren is also a part of Nerdprov as well now. And so we do a bunch of sort of like nerdy shows, especially when we can at conventions and things like that.
Somebody did want to know, what did you do to draw from the character of Mordecai?
What did I draw from to create the character of Mordecai? There were a number of things. Where do I begin with that? Part of it was fleshing out the needs of the group. I didn't initially... I thought I was going to be someone magical, but it wasn't sort of clear who, and then it became clear, okay, well, we should really have someone in the group who's a full-fledged magician to round us out in that corner. And I thought I might want to be an elf at first, but the opportunity to be a dwarf just seemed too interesting. As a min-maxer, an elf might have been a better choice, but dwarf, I think, is a lot of fun. And then his backstory, which a lot of it is yet to be revealed. Some of it sort of draws from my own background, but maybe heightened. Some of it is used to justify things I wanted to do with the character to make him interesting. People have observed, although Mordecai tries to keep it a secret, that he has gremlins, which is a quality in Shadowrun that basically makes him inept with technology and makes it much more likely that he'll glitch if he tries to do anything with technology. So
Class never matters. Dwarf is best race no matter the system.
oh, that's good to know. Good to know I picked right.
Yeah, right? Good to know that you are correct.
Yeah.
And you picked right. T3 is very tired and is saying goodnight. Later, Terror Trooper. Let's see. How long have you been playing tabletop RPGs? Thanks for the questions, White Wabbit.
Yeah. This Shadowrun is the first that I have been heavily involved in. There have been other, like, sort of smaller ones here and there that I've done bits and pieces of. My brother-in-law actually runs a Dragon Age game that we've, like, been playing on his birthday, and we're like trying to do that more regularly now. But most of my tabletop experience is not like that direct with me involved in it. It's more like I've observed others playing and here and there.
My first time ever playing any role-playing game of any kind was when Mercer asked me to be on a makeshift episode of Critical Role to teach people how to play role-playing games. So I had to research them a lot to produce them and to film them and how to properly do them, but I'd never played, and a lot of that had to do with growing up out in the middle of nowhere, not having enough people that I would have even been able to play with. Just too isolated and out in the middle of nowhere. The most we would do is maybe play Trivial Pursuit as a family, and that's about it. There weren't enough people. So never really got to experience it. And it's been exciting to kind of dive in. And my big thing is I like storytelling, and I like, that's why I got into filmmaking and painting and all those things. And being able to tell stories in a live format is really exciting, I think, and to see where audiences take things and the ideas they bring to the table, and that excitement of honestly not knowing where in the fuck things are gonna go. It's exciting but terrifying, like you said. Like it's a cool kind of terrifying.
Well, and as an improviser, I love storytelling, and I love the immediacy of being able to play a character where I get to just jump in and try to react the way he would, and I love just and credit to everyone and Lauren, in particular, being able to go on this kind of a long arc. It's really in improv we have what are called short form and long form styles, and the short form stuff is what I do most of the time, which is the theater sports and the nerd prov stuff, where we basically go there, we try to tell a story in 3 to 5 minutes and try to give it a beginning, middle, and end, and try to have it be satisfying that way. And the long form stuff, which I haven't been able to do as much of lately, we get to weave more complex stories, more moving parts to them, and when it's done well, there can be a really great payoff from that. And this is really scratching a long form itch for me, because we're able to take these characters through a journey of so many months, and every time I can take a little detail and remember it and find ways to have that payoff down the line for me, is just really fulfilling.
Do you think you're going to become really attached, not just to your own character, but some of the other characters in the game as well?
Oh, I am. I mean, I love our dysfunctional group.
You guys seem to come up with the worst plans possible, which is fun.
Yeah, it's interesting. Part of that is, I think, the show, and we're trying to we're trying to do things in a way that we're able to move things along, and hear everyone's ideas. But we've all got ideas, and we all want to just throw them out at each other. But we're reining ourselves in order to have a more cohesive story and tell a better story. So it's we're still figuring out, I think, what all of our roles are when it comes to things like investigation and whatnot. I mean, part of it is, Mordecai is so versatile. Like, he would love to just jump in and try to do everything, but that's not good for the team, and that's not good for the show for him to do that. So he doesn't.
Yeah, you are wearing a Planet Express shirt. People keep
Thank you
freaking
for
out about that
noticing.
underneath. So there's been a lot of questions come in. Do you find that being a game dev makes it harder for you to enjoy video games the way Zach can't watch a movie without dissecting it?
Sometimes. No, I mean, I definitely don't play as many video games as I used to when I was younger, but part of it is also just, I think when you get older, you have less time, to do things.
The biggest one. Like, I can only play a game if we write it into something we're filming for the channel. Otherwise, there's no time.
I still have the capability, though, to be completely blown away by games, and I love it when that happens. I completely accidentally played The Last of Us on my PS4, and I'm not even a zombie game kind of person, but that game just completely blew me away with its narrative. So.
Let's see. What type of artwork do you appreciate? Could be something you've grown out of or still like today.
I'm terrible with art, actually. I used to draw a lot when I was really young, and I got as I kind of like didn't get better at it, I got more and more frustrated with it. And actually, as a video game programmer, it's one of my biggest hindrances is I can't do my own art. I'm very analytical, and I can work well with pixel stuff, but actual drawing and stuff like that, I have no competency in anymore, and I miss it. And I don't have a good ability to really like tell you what art I like, other than to say I know what I like when I see it. Yeah, I don't really have a good answer for that.
Mm-hmm. I would say if the question was meant for me as well, I'm a really big Baroque fan. I like a lot of chiaroscuro, like Cellar Light, Caravaggio kind of stuff. Single light source, high contrast, very dramatic, expressionistic forms. That's kind of my bag.
That was going to be my other answer, but here we are.
Yeah. Let's see. Now everybody's just talking about the corporation stuff. So we created a new thing. We might as well talk about it because that's what this show is for us to talk about everything. We included the market share kind of thing. One of the things on there is that corporations, to post in the chat room, have to buy with media market share the ability to promote their corporation in the chat.
Yeah,
but we try to price
that.
it really, really cheap. Mm-hmm. So it's easy for people to do, but then it makes it interesting in the sense of like, if you want to do PR for your corp, you have to buy PR kind of thing. And we don't find it limiting, Aranook. The part of the reason we did it is, for one, it increases the role-playing aspect. 10 bill isn't cheap. Well, we can lower it then if we need to. The other aspect was that people who own a lot of media could sell the rights because they own the media stock, similar to like a corporation that owns Fox News or whatever can sell advertisement space to do that. And the other being that we had a lot of people who aren't joining corporations complaining about the corporate spam in chat because it had gotten so like the second someone subscribed, there were 20 people jumping on them and stuff. So we're trying to find a balance. That way people can do it, but we're not going to have an overload of a ton of stuff just like dumping onto the chat room at all the time. So it doesn't like make people feel bad, but then they can buy it. It feels for it. So that's the idea. Matrix services is for the chat room. I know we tried to mix it up because media was like some stuff is in the media category, some stuff's in the Matrix category, some stuff's in like robotics. Like you can pay to have a Nightbot command for your corporation, as in robotics like took over Nightbot and stuff. So yeah, I think it's trying to find a way to make it work in all aspects and increase the role playing and all that kind of stuff. And we'll let stuff run for a couple weeks, and if people generally are like, I don't like that, we'll get rid of it. But to start out, let's go for it. It's a game, and we're testing out the mechanics of it all and seeing what works and what doesn't. And when we say we'll find people that post, like, we're not going to find anybody this week. We're just letting everyone know this is what we're doing. So, all that stuff.
Someone asked what my favorite collectible is, and now that's like got me concerned because I don't know that I actually collect stuff. I hoard. I definitely have like the hoarding instinct. I have like video games, like cartridges and whatnot, back from 20 years ago or more, and old PlayStation CDs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel like I should collect stuff though. Huh.
I'm not really a person that collects either. And people are going to be like, yeah, right, comic books, but I really don't. I get a lot of comics, and then I give them away. And I get a lot of comics, and I give them away. I don't actually collect anything. I move around a lot, too, and that might have something to do with it. I don't really have collectible items.
Yeah.
Usually end up giving it away. That is a collection, Dan.
How did Dan get involved with Shadowrun? Did he know anyone besides Janine that play with him, or perhaps Lauren? Janine, Tony, Cheryl, and myself were all part of a group called Nerdprov, and we do nerdy improvisation around the Seattle area and whatnot. And Zach originally reached out to us about doing this show. Lauren, actually, I originally cast her in a show that I directed, an improv show called Final Fantasy: The Improvised Adventures.
Which, okay, we brought this up before. We've got to get that on the schedule sometime. Like, we've got to get on the schedule some of you guys more, like, produced. I think people would love that shit. They would eat it up.
It was a pretty epic show. And definitely, like, the most ambitious show I've ever done. We had costumes for all of, like, the different Final Fantasy classes. We had, I wrote, actually, mapping software that we could project to the audience. So as they invented new locations that they went to, they would pop in and there'd be little, like, breadcrumb trails of them going there. And we had battles and stuff like that. And it was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, what do you guys want to see stuff like that? That would be something I think that would be fun for us to do. The other was I think it'd be fun to do the Star Trek improv sometime. That would be pretty cool. Dan, are there any games that are really close to your heart?
Well, the Final Fantasy series is the one I did base my improv show off of. So yeah, definitely.
Final Fantasy is one that's pretty big on that list for you.
Yeah, I'm an old school RPGer. I think one of the first games I played was on my old black and white Game Boy. It was Final Fantasy Legend, which is not actually a Final Fantasy game, but they renamed it that for American audiences. And I just got like sucked into. I had no idea you could have such an expansive world in such a little game, and each world, like there were 4 main worlds that were in that game, and each one I got to, I assumed like was going to be the end of the game. I wasn't expecting there to be more to it and more to it. And
my favorite Game Boy, original Game Boy game was Kid Icarus.
I never played that.
Fuck out of that. But I'm a big fan still to this day of kind of brutally challenging platformers. Like, I like them. I enjoy those kind of things.
Yeah.
I never was able to get into RPGs like when I was a kid, and I still have a hard time with it now. And I think it's always been time management for me. Even as a kid, I was forced to do a lot of. Well, that's not. It can't be totally true because I watched a lot of movies, but I put movies pretty high on a priority list. But the other was my dad was really hard on me about games. If he saw me playing a game, he'd get mad. And he'd want me to go outside, do chores, do something like that. So he'd kind of like talk down to me anytime I started playing a game. But I could watch a movie and he would be like, whatever. But to an extent. If I was watching movies on a Saturday in the day, he'd throw a fit and be like, go outside, get shit done. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, for me, it's the storytelling. It just, I got sucked into these narratives. And that was something I wanted to try to bring to the improv was the larger than life stuff. You know, you go to see an improv show, it's usually pretty grounded stuff. But in the improv show that we were doing, like we could be slaying dragons and, you know, the world would be in peril. And it was a lot of fun for that reason.
Let's get some more questions and lay off the corpse talk, guys. It's Honesty Hour. Let's talk about stuff. We already covered that. Let's move on.
This is your shot to like find all my dirty little secrets that.
Well, there was a question many times in the chat. How old are you?
I am.
That's a great question, right?
I am a healthy and spry 36. So that's the answer to that question. Take that as you will.
All right. Well, I am going to answer because now Alien are saying, Lydia, I know. Sadly, we don't have an exactly right now. I recommend not talking about the corpse at all for bits. In this honest hour, I'll say I'm not happy about it, but the rules are coming from Zac and Anna. I just enforce them. That's pretty backhanded. Why don't we just say this? Don't advertise for a corp in the chat unless your corp has bought media for now. We don't have to expand upon it more than that. It's pretty easy to understand. So we'll leave it at that. It's not hard to understand. Don't overcomplicate it. It's a game, guys, and it's a game rule. And we also are very big on this game. If you find ways around things, we can't tell you no. Like, there's a lot of things we leave open-ended for the fun of the Shadowrun universe. Part of what we like about Shadowrun as a system and why it's fun for this corporate game is that things are meant to be a little shady at times. And people finding ways around certain things. And you guys have gotten pretty creative with some of that stuff. And then other people will message us and be like, we shouldn't be able to do this. And it's like, but that's the fun, is that you get to be creative in this. And you get to find creative ways to do things. And that's, to me, it's a game. And it's a game that's meant to be played socially. And that's part of the fun. Us finding rules and you finding creative ways to modify them to, like, there's so many things you guys are already doing in the game that we never thought people would do, and they're immediately finding ways to break it. That stuff's fun to us. What's not fun is a bunch of people messaging us and being like, this is broken because of this, and this. And like, guys, it's a fun game for the chat room to play. Like, have fun. Dan, Zac has shared some horror stories before. What is a difficult situation you have faced in life, and if you did, how did you overcome or deal with it?
I mean, there's different forms of difficulty. I can tell you probably my most embarrassing moment was recently after I'd graduated from university.
Did you poop yourself?
I did not poop myself, although that would have been
embarrassing.
That would have been the chocolate icing on the cake. I had been doing improv at my university, and I kind of like felt like a bit of a hot shot there. And I came back to Toronto, and I wanted to find out what was there, and I managed to get involved with this really incredible group of improvisers who, and I when I say involved, I wasn't really part of what they did, but I got to take part in their jams, and I went and watched their show and whatnot. And I got they did like a Monday evening show in the back of a bar that was dimly lit. It was like $5 to get in, and they had a huge following of people from the community who just like knew a really good show when they saw it. And they constantly were rotating in like groups of people who were sort of new or different, and I finally got the opportunity to basically do a duo with one of my best friends from university who I'd done a lot of performing with, and I knew what I really wanted to do, which was play a game called Mousetraps. And the way Mousetraps works is we set up the scene by putting like 30 loaded mousetraps on the stage, and we do the scene blindfolded and barefoot. And so we're trying to do an improv scene while mousetraps are springing on our feet.
That sounds terrible.
It is terrible, but it's so incredible to watch. I saw it once, and my jaw was on the floor because it was so exciting and so tense and insane. But I really wanted to do this game. So I prepared all these mousetraps, and I put them on a tray, and I covered it with like this cloth so there could be this dramatic reveal. And so our time to do this scene came up, and I went up there, and I pulled the cloth off,
And it set
and
off all the
all
mousetraps.
of these mousetraps went off on there, and I was like furiously trying to set mousetraps in the time in which we were supposed to be doing our scene, and it was hugely, like, mortifyingly embarrassing for me in front of all of these people that
More
I really
embarrassing
respected.
than putting mousetraps on the floor and possibly breaking a toe for that same
Oh,
audience.
yeah. Because then at least we would have been, doing what we had intended to. But yeah, that I still am haunted by that experience, and I can't think about it too hard, or like my stomach will turn and stuff.
Really? Man. I still, in my head, I'm just like, it sounds to me like actually going through with it and stepping barefoot on a bunch of mousetraps in front of those same people and screaming and possibly breaking things would be more horrifying.
That's the thing about improv, is it defies your expectations.
What's the biggest, most expensive coding mistake you ever made?
I don't know. Well, before, when I lived in New York, I worked for a little website that some of you may have heard of called OkCupid, and that was when it was a very small website. There were only about 6 of us, I think, working in the office, and I did manage to bring the site to its knees for about 5 minutes. And I don't even remember what it was I did, except that I knew I hadn't thoroughly tested whatever change it was I was going to make. But I was that, like, confident in what I'd done. I didn't think it was going to be a problem. And yeah, so if you were chatting someone up in those 5 minutes and you lost your mojo because the site went down, sorry. My bad.
Sorry, not sorry?
Well, yeah.
Dan, if Mordecai dies, what might you play as a backup character?
I can't even think of that. Oh God, I'm so invested
jerk.
in Mordecai. You guys don't understand. I have like a branching growth chart planned out for him, depending on how much money and karma being like the experience points of Shadowrun, depending on what we get, when, how much downtime we have, different options for ways I can grow this character. I don't know. If Mordecai dies, my backup might be to die with him. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. What was the original idea that brought out Sharky? Where did Sharky come from?
Sharky came from, in Shadowrun, there's a list of mentor spirits that you can optionally choose from that have different benefits and drawbacks. And you have to be magically inclined in order to do that. And I found the shark really worked well with the build I was trying to do. I wanted to I thought it would be interesting and fun to make a mage who's really good at close-up combat, so he can. That's one of the things. If you've been watching the show, you've seen me like knock people out with a punch spell, and Sharky lends himself well to that because he increases the effectiveness of unarmed combat and also combat spells. So I chose the Shark Mentor because of that. And then there's so many different options for what kinds of spirits you can summon. I sort of decided I wanted to build a character around it instead. And I decided it would make sense to have my Shark Mentor fulfill that, which is not normal for Shadowrun, but I think from a role-playing standpoint, it works out pretty well. So that was the genesis of Sharky.
I think he's a great addition. Every good role-playing group needs a good mascot.
Oh my god, that costume, and now I love that emoticon. That's it warms the cockles every time I see it. I love Sharky, and I wish him the best as he like gets his own show and no longer needs me. How did I come up with the name Sharky? Well, he was a shark. And I thought to myself, if I were to name a shark, what would be a good name for that shark?
Yeah.
How do I feel about the banishing rules in 5e? They scare me.
And what are the banishing rules?
The banishing is basically a technique to make spirits go away. And Mordechai doesn't have the ability to banish, at least not yet. But Lauren has introduced a character who can banish Sharky. And I guess it's fair. Especially like the stronger versions of Sharky that I summon can be pretty overpowered. But it's also, if you're not aware of the mechanics, it's very risky whenever I do that. Even like you saw today, I summoned regular strength Sharky, and I had to resist 10 drain, or 10 damage from drain from summoning him. It's pretty rare that something roll like that happens, but when it does, it could potentially knock me out in one shot. So I tend to be pretty conservative about it. I forget what the question was. Hopefully I answered
Banishing.
Banishing, yeah. It sucks. That, and actually what's even worse for me is Lauren has started to introduce bound spirits. So I can only summon one spirit at a time. If I had the skill to bind them, I could have multiple spirits and force them to stay around, but I've sort of decided that that's against the nature of my character. He tries to be friendly with spirits, and spirits don't like to be bound, so he doesn't do that.
Scuba Diver 56 wants to know if I still keep up with Critical Role. I still keep up with them. I don't have time to watch all the episodes. I try to tune in sometimes if I hear they're doing something cool. Matt was in town this week, and I had dinner with him, and we talked about the 50th episode and stuff they're working on, stuff I'm working on. It felt good to talk to Matt, though, because I hadn't got a chance to talk to him since we started all this, and we ran him through all the shows, and he got really excited, and Matt's definitely our target audience. He's a giant miniatures RPG nerd, and he was really super stoked about all the stuff we're doing, and hopefully we can get him on one of the shows sometime in the future. But yeah, I still talk to all those guys, and when I'm in town in LA on the 10th, I'm going to stop by and say hi to everybody, since Ashley is back in town for a little while, and I haven't seen her in a really long time, and Ashley's really great, and I miss talking to her. She's a cool, good person.
Do you have any plans to give Sharky a personality? Do you think Sharky doesn't have a personality? He's got a lot of personality to me, and I guess I'm conveying it in bits and pieces, but trust me, there's a character there, even if you haven't seen all of it yet.
So Cheryl tweeted a picture of clean-shaven Dan. How long have you had the beard?
I've had the beard for a few years now, I think. that would make sense because most of my pictures are a few years old. So, I like it because shaving is a pain, and my wife tolerates it. So hey.
Let's see. I saw one.
I saw a couple go by, but I already forget what they were. Who is your favorite Muppet? I have a friend that I do theater sports with, and by the property of the transitional property or whatever. She's also the friend of most of the people in the show, who does a lot of puppeteering stuff and basically lives a life around puppets and Muppets. And at some point, people started like asking her to assign them spirit Muppets, and she assigned me Oscar the Grouch, which I never would have picked for myself, but I totally love. So yeah, I Oscar is my favorite Muppet.
There you go. If Donald Trump wins the election, are you going back to the motherland?
I don't think I'm going back to the motherland.
Would you stay and fight the good fight?
Yeah, I would stay and fight the good fight, but let's just say I'm glad to be a citizen of Canada. Because you never know.
You never know. If you had to turn this Twitch channel into a full-length movie, which actors would you pick to play yourselves? That's an interesting question.
If I had to pick an actor to play myself, well, so there are the actors that people would assign to me versus the actors I would choose for myself. I, of course, would choose someone along the lines of like Nathan Fillion or Sean Connery.
I'm gonna say for myself, Brad Pitt 20 years ago.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go Brad Pitt 20 years ago. That's my choice.
I often get Eugene Levy, and I get Rick Moranis. So
we got a lineup right there.
Yeah.
The first time bringing Brad Pitt and Moranis together.
Yeah.
For a movie. We've all been waiting for it.
From 20 years ago, no less.
Yeah, we've all been waiting for it. Let's see. Oh yeah, I feel like I should use some of this time to update you guys on some stuff that's going on. So we're gonna be at PaizoCon. So if any of you guys are at PaizoCon, please come find us. We're gonna be using PaizoCon as a way to test our new show that we're doing with Paizo. Part of the reason we haven't done that show yet, one is we need more bandwidth. We have a new employee starting here at the beginning of May, and we're hoping that helps a lot with opening up some bandwidth for things we have to do. Two, we haven't found the right GM yet, and for that show particularly, it's really going to be a challenge for the GM. So we're going to be at PaizoCon, and we're going to be testing out the system that we're kind of working on. So if you guys are at PaizoCon, come find us. We'll be doing 30-minute sessions with people to test out the gauntlet kind of idea. And while there, I'm going to be interviewing people to see if they're the right fit for GM for that show. While we're at PaizoCon, we're going to send another team to ETX, which is the board game con that Uncle's Games helps put on. So we'll be streaming that on Memorial Day weekend, while half the team's streaming that at ETX, and then the other half will be at PaizoCon. So that's coming up. We've got next Thursday. Oh man, coming up so soon. Terrified of this. We have so much work to do. The R Loop 12-hour stream from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. I don't know if I got a chance to talk to you guys about this last Wednesday during Honesty Hour or not. We've got a lot to do to get ready for it. It's going to be a 12-hour kind of science day in support of R Loop's Indiegogo campaign, which is a Hyperloop team for Elon Musk's SpaceX challenge. And we're going to be teaming up with Soylent for that. It's going to be a special day of Thursday program where we're trying to lock guests right now and come up with some cool projects to do during the day. Lot to do to get ready for that. But we're going to need you guys' help. getting the word out once we get all that stuff, all the graphics and stuff ready to get the word out about our guests and our science day and all that good stuff. We're going to be locking our Necropolis plans very soon. We're working with Bandai Namco to come up with a good kind of plan for how we're going to handle Necropolis's launch, because we want to make sure we have exclusivity here on this channel. And there's a lot of people excited about that game, so we're hoping we can really leverage that to bring in some new viewers to the channel and all that good stuff. Can we ask how much bandwidth you go through in a month? The kind of bandwidth I'm talking about is hours of the day, not necessarily internet bandwidth. I'm talking about employee bandwidth, as in right now we're all stretched so thin that we really can't add another show. We've got 2 shows on the docket that we want to add, but we don't have the time and or resources to do so. We're probably going to end up canceling Easter eggs. It took up a lot of time to find guests for such little actual output of interest and fan participation, which is the opposite of what we need to be doing. So as much as we like it and learn a lot from it, it's a lot of hours for very little viewers or engagement for the channel. So that's probably going to go, and that's why we'd mentioned Scott's probably going to show up on the Valiant RPG show. We want to make sure that Scott's still involved because we like him and we think he's got a good head on his shoulders. This is the part where I just sit here and talk CEO bullshit with these guys. And the reason we do that is because I feel like you guys are investors of this channel. If it wasn't for your subscribing and your donations, this channel would not be possible. So I owe it to you guys to let you know about all the stuff that's going on. Zach, if you guys are hiring, where can I send my resume? We are not, because we just hired somebody, and that's about all we can have for a while. And we can't really afford that, but we have to make it work because we just don't have the manpower to do a lot of the stuff we want to do.
Scrolled off the end, but Paradigm Shift asked, are you Jewish? I am Jewish. I'm not a very good Jew, but I'm card carrying, I guess, if there is a card. Mordecai is also Jewish, but he doesn't like to talk about it for reasons that have yet to be revealed.
There we go. Yeah, I'm disappointed about the lack of Easter eggs, but I totally understand the lack of viewer participation. Getting people to ask good questions is important and difficult. Yes, it is true, and as much as we like it, so we talked about maybe doing it once a month and working on getting bigger guests, but hopefully that doesn't end up taking more time and effort. It's really difficult in Seattle to get people to come out in the middle of the day to do stuff, especially because we're a new company and we don't know everybody yet. But there's also the fact that everyone out here has full-time jobs and they take those jobs really seriously, which is a good thing. It's just a lot different than what I'm used to. Everyone in LA has a media department. Fucking everyone. Anyone you call at any company, game company, research, whatever, it's like, yeah, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this interview thing. And we're finding up here that that's not very common because there is so little media source. So it's very uncommon when we call people and we're like, hey, do you have anybody that can come and talk? Not really. Especially for video, because they're really not used to having people have to go out and be on video. And it seems like there's a lot of companies then that come back at us and they're like, okay, what's your reach? What's this? What's that? How could we need to clear this with our PR department? We got to do this and this and this and this. And it, usually in the past for me, it was as easy as asking and they'd be like, fuck yeah, we'll send you somebody. So it's a learning curve and we're trying to figure it out.
Welcome to Seattle.
Yeah, it's a learning curve. We're working on it. We want to keep doing some highbrow content. It's tough.
I think it's super exciting though what you guys are doing here. I mean, there is a hunger for this kind of thing in Seattle, and it sucks that we don't have the infrastructure for it to all go more smoothly. But I think it's all really cool.
Yeah, we think it's cool too. The biggest problem is letting people know it exists.
Yeah.
We're actually finding it really hard to get people in Seattle. People in Seattle are excited to come on, but not to watch per se. Like they're excited to be a part of it, but not necessarily to watch. So it seems Emily and Anna want to do Rock Band. How would you be able to do that with the noise? We do it late at night, Spathaway. We do it when everyone goes home. Dan, if you could add or change one thing about Hyper RPG, what would it be?
That's a tough question. I think I wish it had more resources. Like that's that's what it comes down to. I from what I've seen inside all of here, I feel like you guys really know what it is you're doing, and you know how how to reach this audience and how to like really create the kind of cool content that people want to consume. It's so hard when you don't have the infrastructure, and like the marketing budget is just so hard.
Even if we had the marketing budget, and that's part of the reason we didn't invest in a marketing or put like aside for marketing budget, is even when I had one in the past, no one's really cracked the code on how to properly market for content on Twitch. Mm-hmm. Like even if we had some budget there, I feel like it would be a waste of money that could be better well spent in other areas, because marketing firms don't fucking know how to handle it. It's very different. We do have some Hyper Up Power. White Wabbit. Thank you, White Wabbit.
Thanks, White.
More resources to construct additional pylons. Thanks for hanging out with us, Dan.
Hey, my pleasure.
Wabbit must respect you and like you, because he usually only trolls people and makes them feel pretty terrible about themselves, and he's been asking you really good questions and stuff. So,
well, maybe either that or like I'm the worst and not even worth trolling would be the other end of that spectrum.
But it sounds like Joe's already left, guys. It sounds like he left the donation sounds up way too loud, so it's hurting everybody's ears. I think most Twitch viewers just wander around and find things and host things. Yeah, kind of, Garborg, which is tough when you run a business. And I know we've talked about this before, but it's a problem Twitch has to figure out, because they want more companies like us doing big content, but it's very risky for anyone who puts money in Twitch to do it when there's no infrastructure to support. Okay, how do you ensure that if we put money into it that it gets discovered? It's a lot different for a single streamer who doesn't have much overhead than it is a major company who has 40K of overhead a month. So when you're asking companies with that kind of overhead to do stuff on your platform, you definitely have to be ready for, okay, how then do we support them? And we're working with them hopefully to figure that out, because it is tough and it's going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard to have more companies like us join Twitch. Everybody says that like what I did at Geek and Sundry and what we're doing here is going to be the future of Twitch, but I don't think it is, because anyone that's going to do research on it from a company standpoint might step back a little bit and be like, whoa, but if we put in this much money and we can't be guaranteed anything and it's completely in the wind and just hoping someone finds it, it's super risky. And I don't think we're going to see any other companies like this doing stuff until that's figured out. A lot tried right when Twitch launched, and a lot have already failed. A lot of your larger media companies who even have websites to promote their content on, like your IGNs and your Machinimas and stuff like that, already kind of bombed. So it's difficult. Are there any miniature games that you both like? I love HeroClix. I'm a huge fan of HeroClix.
I don't know HeroClix. I don't.
It's basically just superheroes beating the shit out of each other.
Huh.
It's cool.
Sounds good. Someone asked if I have one great regret in life. I think I have lots of little regrets, like most people do, and probably a lot of sour grapes as well. Probably one of the things I struggle with is I built this life for myself out here in the Pacific Northwest. And I have a wife and a daughter and a dog, and I love them all, and I wouldn't trade them for the world. Back in Toronto, I have a brother who's developmentally disabled, and he lives with my parents, and so that's a challenge for me, is figuring out how to continue to support him while maintaining my life out here. and I guess a regret would be that I haven't been able to be a better support for him thus far. So I've had to sort of go my own way by coming out here, and so that's something I wrestle with.
No, they're used to.
Yeah.
We've talked about some really, really sad shit on here, so this has been a very positive experience so far. So you don't need to apologize for sad stuff.
Tragedy plus time is comedy. So, are there any other things you geek out over? I love Doctor Who, the new stuff. I can't really stand the old stuff. One of my favorite experiences was getting asked to guest star as the Master in the improvised Doctor Who that Seattle Experimental Theater does, and they didn't tell Tony, who was playing the Doctor, that I would be doing that, and I got to come in from the audience and see the look on his face when I did that. What else do I geek out over? We mentioned Final Fantasy. Similarly, I'm like an old school Nintendo, so like the classics, Mario, Zelda, Metroid. I'm into all of those.
What's your favorite Final Fantasy?
6, which was 3 when it originally came out here. But
I've played like
no
20
contest.
minutes of all of them and never got further than that on any of them.
Yeah, most of them are more than 20 minutes, so substantially.
Yeah,
Right.
I know there's a lot more game there. I've just never had time to play more than that. I'll be like, oh, Final Fantasy, I'll check this out. And okay, I gotta go do something.
Oh, the other thing is I'm not a comic book person, but I consume like Batman in pretty much every other medium. And I love so much like the fantasy of being like stronger and smarter than all of the bullies out there, and just being able to outwit and outpunch all of them. So yeah, Batman fan.
What's your favorite Batman story?
Favorite Batman story? I love Batman Begins, the Nolan movie. Like, to me, that was it was such a departure from anything that had been done before, and told. I don't even really have a good way of describing it. I just loved the arc of that movie. I know most people like the second one he did better, but not me.
Honestly, I don't necessarily like Returns better. Well, that wasn't a Batman movie. That was a Joker movie. Like that was.
Yeah,
It was more about the protagonist or the antagonist. That whole movie.
Game Boy or Game Gear, Game Boy every time. I had a friend who had a Game Gear. Didn't really get into it.
I had one. I got to play it once, and then my dad took it away from me because I didn't do my chores or something. I never got to play it again. I remember being super pissed about that. Did you ever read The Killing Joke?
I've not read The Killing Joke. I've read summaries of it, and I've seen the final panels.
They just
from
released the
it
trailer
and
for the animated feature that's coming out
Oh,
of The Killing Joke,
really?
and they brought back Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy to do the
Oh,
voices.
wow.
It's gonna be pretty fucking great.
That's some exciting stuff.
Zach, do you think your dyslexia prevented you from getting into RPGs? Earlier ones had a lot of text without voice acting. Deep down, maybe White Wabbit, but it would have been completely subconscious where I just avoided those games. I mean, it didn't keep me from reading, and I read more comic books than I played video games. And I'd say games have a similar amount of pictures to words, but I think it was more just a time thing. I was always afraid to invest that much time in something I knew my dad was going to make me stop playing anyway. Had to be able to beat things quick and move on.
Thoughts on Batman versus Superman? I still have not seen it. I kind of want to hate watch it. I'm pretty sure I will hate it. I was not a fan of the Superman movie.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm going to be a fan of Batman versus Superman. but I'll hate watch it.
Dan, I am doodling. How rotund is Mordecai?
He's broad, I would say. He's I don't think he's like I don't think he's fat, but he's a bit heavy set. You know, he's got some fun bounce to him. You could probably roll him down a hill.
Roll him down a hill?
Yeah.
Dan, would you ever DM for a group of engineers?
You know, I'd never thought about it before, but I've invested so much in Shadowrun, and I've really grown to like it. And there's a lot of stuff that's frustrating about Shadowrun too. But I could see myself DMing a game for that.
Zach, what did discipline in art make you do with dyslexia? Did it make you own it? No, it promoted it. Me turning to art and visual mediums like filmmaking only enabled my dyslexia to where now, as a 31-year-old, I can barely get emails out to people in a professional manner without having to spell check them through my browser and then let other people read them. I have, if anything, hurt my ability to combat it because I've dove into visual mediums and avoided it my whole life and chose to run from it and kind of focus more on pictures rather than words. So definitely did not. Yeah, thank you, Malika, for letting everyone know how bad it is. Zach has it bad.
Do I like Gotham? Gotham's terrible. I watched the first season, and I actually have every episode since then has been piling up on my DVR, and I haven't been able to bring myself to watch it. It's pretty bad. Bad stuff.
Yeah, it's not that great.
That's one thing I've gotten better at. I've gotten better at quitting shows. I tend to I'll get really invested in a show, and I'll keep Smallville. I watched all the way through, just hoping that, against hope, that someday it would turn into the show that I wanted it to be. And of course, that was naive of me, but
that's how I feel with Arrow.
Yeah.
It's so close. It's just right on the cusp.
And it also
being so close to something I could really like.
It's also had some decent stretches in it too that draw you back in, but then it keeps reminding you it's a CW show, and it's never gonna
every once in a while I'm like, yep, CW. I mean, that being said, for CW, Flash I think is really strong.
I enjoy Flash. I have to turn off my brain an awful lot.
Yes.
You know, but at least it makes me want to turn off my brain, as opposed to some other shows.
It at least knows what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And is okay with that. I was pretty bored by a lot of this second season though. It's feels like such a retread of the first, and it's I thought you guys were gonna do some new shit, and this is getting pretty redundant. But
there's a lot of speedsters on that show, to the point where you start to wonder if there's really anything they can do other than pit the Flash up against another person who can run fast.
Yeah. Which is an inherent problem with the character in itself.
I think you're probably right.
Daredevil spoils me. Yeah. Daredevil season 2 spoiled the shit out of me.
That and Jessica Jones.
Yeah, way to ruin other superhero TV shows, right? How do you fucking match that shit? I will say that Garborg says he has 61 episodes of Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. on his DVR, but I've only watched 8. I will say I'll give credit to that show that in season 3 it started to hit a stride and it got a lot better. The first season was dog shit. It was so bad.
I've got a lot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. piled up on my DVR as well that
there's been some stuff this season that I haven't been a big fan of, but there's been a couple episodes this season that on their own have been really good television. There was a couple on the other planet, a Kree planet.
Oh, really?
That were really good TV.
That was the inherent problem with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was taking the Marvel Universe and then taking all of the Marvel Universe out of it. And then DC saw that and said, hey, let's do that with Batman and we'll make Gotham. And
Yeah, I would say that I would agree with Robin Hood. Winter Soldier saved Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, when Winter Soldier happened, all the stuff that happened in the movie affected Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it made the show way better. Yeah. Like it disbarred them, and now they're having to like do stuff.
I have a lot to catch.
Oh shit! First episode of Preacher is fun. Is Preacher out? Galactic Sean, is it out? Like is fucking Preacher out? Because holy shit, I want to watch that show. Yeah, if somebody else jump on that. Like, wait. Am I gonna have to go fucking illegally download this shit right now? Like, oh, I want to see that. I want to see it really bad.
Doing a last-minute bare-bone rough draft. Please give me a topic to research to inform my classmates. What I would need to know what kind of class you're in, I think, to answer that. But failing that, poetry?
He saw a sneak preview at WonderCon. Interesting. Damn it.
What is your favorite B-rated movie?
Oh, God. Don't get me started on this one, guys. Holy shit. I love bad movies. And Malika's in the chat and can attest to this. I like watching really bad movies. Sometimes more than I like watching good movies. Because when I watch good movies, I'm being critical. And I can't turn my brain off. But when I'm watching a movie that's bad and I'm just like, fuck it, I can have a lot of fun. I'll be right back. Because I keep it with me everywhere I go.
In the meantime, that's hard for me to answer because my opinions are all tainted by Mystery Science Theater 3000.
I mean, this isn't B-rated, but it practically is. But I have a VHS copy of Roadhouse that pretty much goes with me everywhere I go in the world, just in case I'm ever in a bad mood and I have to go find a VCR.
I think I saw that movie, but I'm not actually sure.
Rewound and ready to go.
Wow.
Ready to go. Look at that cover.
Yeah, that's classy.
You got Dalton about to rip a motherfucker's throat out right on the front. Roadhouse. Just gonna leave that right there. This show brought to you by
Roadhouse.
Manliness and Tidy Whities.
Wow, lots of Roadhouse fans in the chat.
Dude, it's so fucking good. I lose my shit when I'm watching that movie because there's so many. Okay, anytime I'm talking to someone who is not from America, and they're like trying to understand American culture. This is the Pacific Northwest, small percentage of America. LA, small percentage of America. You want to know America and try to comprehend why they vote for Donald Trump and he's leading in the Republican polls? Roadhouse. Like, Roadhouse. That's how you do it. I like to show that to people and say, this is the America that America sees itself as. If you go to Middle America, this is what they see and believe in their minds the American dream of the typical white male, Midwestern American dream kind of thing. It's a great way to be, it's an insight to American culture from 20 years ago and even today and how they see themselves, and it blows my goddamn mind. It's so funny.
Well, now I have to definitely watch it.
Have you never seen it?
I feel like I have, but you're describing it in ways that make me think I probably haven't, and I'm confusing it with some other movie. Someone asked what tradition Mordechai is. Mordechai is shamanic. So there's a lot of traditions for magicians in the like the extra rule books for Shadowrun, but the two main ones are Hermetic and Shamanic. And Hermetics use logic as their primary magical stat to resist drain, and Shamanics use charisma. And I thought charisma was a more useful stat in general, and I liked the idea of him being sort of like attuned to the spirits and like basically working with them and asking favors from them, and it being a more peaceable relationship. So I went for that. Apparently there is an evil shamanic or evil hermetic mage out there now that Mordechai hates. So
I hate to just retread on this, but I need to read the back of this to everybody.
Please. it's important that you do.
Guys, we're going to read the back of this VHS box because we should. Came out in 1989, an hour and 54 minutes. What's your favorite bad movie, by the way? We didn't answer that. What's your favorite bad movie?
My favorite bad movie? So 2 answers to that. Army of Darkness is definitely
that's
up
so
there.
good. Yeah.
But that's kind of easy. I think probably, and this ties into what I've said earlier, Batman and Robin is... I want to like write a dissertation on that movie.
Do it.
This is
getting interesting.
Utterly fascinated by that movie.
That's how I get with these bad movies. Like, to imagine the decision-making process and all the money and time and effort that goes into it blows my mind. I'm
kind of loath to give up the ghost on this, but this is actually a pet project I've had for a long time. I want to do a staged production of Batman and Robin, basically Batman and Robin the movie, the play, and my premise for it is we are going to take that Joel Schumacher like piece of garbage. We're going to take that script, put it on an altar, treat it as like sacred, like we were doing Hamlet, and instead of like I think it was like a $65 million budget or $100 million budget, whatever they had, we're going to do like fringe theater on like a $500 budget, try to recreate that movie as faithfully as we can.
You might get the set pieces very close to what they actually had in the movie.
I'm talking about like a Mr. Freeze who's in like football gear that's been spray painted silver with a silver super soaker. I'm talking about like we will use every theatrical trick and technique at our disposal. Like I'm talking like hockey fights.
You know what's amazing about
people
all
being
this?
Pushed around on hand carts.
It's probably a good theater play.
I am very curious. Like I want to conduct the experiment.
Is flamboyant theater.
It is very flamboyant. The thing is, some of the actors in it are better at the flamboyant stuff than others. Uma Thurman owns Poison Ivy. Alicia Silverstone, not so much with trying to be in an action movie when it's not really her milieu. George Clooney is just good at being affable and not much else.
I don't know, man. He was not there or wanted to be.
Yeah, someone mentioned seeing it through a nostalgic lens, and that's the thing is I do have nostalgia for it, and I it's terrible, but I love it, and I think there's meat on that bone. I wanna stage that at some point.
All right, guys. Sex, violence, romance, and Patrick Swayze. The Atlantic Journal. From the producer of Die Hard and Lethal Weapon comes a sexy, action-packed adventure that pushes the envelope for high-octane thrills. Mind you, interesting that they use those words, sexy. This movie's not geared to women. And the only thing sexy in this movie is Patrick Swayze. There is hardly any, like, even the women in this movie are actually, for a movie of this generation, fairly well dressed and composed comparatively to the other action movies. Patrick Swayze is the sexy they're talking about, which is interesting if you know the people that it's geared towards. Patrick Swayze stars as one of the screen's most unforgettable heroes, charged with magnetic charm and lightning-fast martial arts moves. Dalton Swayze is a legendary bouncer who comes to Jasper, Missouri for a special purpose, to restore order at the dangerous Double Deuce bar. But as one by one he rids the bar of thugs, hoodlums, and hitmen, he incurs the wrath of their employer, the notorious racketeer Brad Wesley Ben Gazzara. The town lives in fear of Wesley, but Dalton is ready for action. He confronts Wesley's goons in spectacular fight after another, but when they strike back with deadly force, Dalton knows he must face the crime boss himself in a blistering battle to the finish. Co-starring Kelly Lynch and Sam Elliott, and featuring hard-driving music by Alabama, the Jeff Healey Band, Otis Redding, and more. Hard-driving music from Otis Redding.
All right. I'm going to correct myself. I definitely have not seen that movie then.
Okay. Was not shot in Missouri. I don't know why they didn't just say Kansas, because they shot the bar, the Double Deuce, is located outside of Kansas City, about 40 miles in Kansas. And they had a couple establishing shots there. Everything else so obviously shot in Burbank because the LA mountains are in the background of every fucking shot. And
You're like the Wikipedia article on this.
I barely know anything. But it cracks me up because like all the way through the movie they're like supposed to be in the middle of Missouri and it's flat with LA mountains in the background and desert conditions everywhere, and it's so not anywhere close except for the little river in Kansas that they filmed next to. But the so many good lines and moments in this fucking movie. One of my favorite lines of all time is when he goes to Kelly Lynch as the doctor, and after he gets stabbed, yeah, he's in the hospital. She's like, "That looks like it hurts. Pain don't hurt."
It's a good line.
Pain don't hurt. And then after that, he goes on to tell her that she's like, "You don't seem like the bouncer type," and it's like, "Well, I graduated from NYU with a degree in philosophy." It's just like line after line after line. We're just like, what I also love from a filmmaking standpoint, he is the perfect man. He is the Mary Stew or Marty Stew or whatever. He is completely perfect. He has zero flaws. He doesn't just save the cat at the beginning of the movie. He saves the cat over and over and over again. Gives a car to a homeless person. Stops a random bar fight. Helps an innocent woman. You know, like stands up for it. Like he is the perfect fucking man. He has no flaws in the entire movie. Every single thing he says, Gary Stew, that's what it is. Gary Stew. No flaws whatsoever, and everything that comes out of his mouth just makes him that much more likable. It's just like another talent, another thing you like about him. And they just keep stacking it and stacking it and stacking it until he's like this godlike figure who happens to rip people's throats out. It's they try to make it a flaw, but yet it's how they have him beat the main villain of the movie here. It's like, I don't want to talk about that. Like, it's the one thing he's like, we don't talk about that. But then he rips the guy's throat out at the end. It's fucking great. I just love it so much.
Well, I gotta check that out.
Yeah. I like movies like that a lot. I like a lot of 80s and 90s movies too because of how they saw themselves when they were making it. You don't have that much anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they were unaware. The thing is now people make bad movies and then try to sell you on the bad because they realize that there's a nostalgia for bad. But then it takes why you like those things out of it and use it as an excuse. Like, oh, we knew it was bad. We went into it knowing it was bad. It's fine. You know, like...
The other thing is, though, like, as I've grown older, you know, it's like the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Like, I can't tell from myself how much of it is my own, like, distorted lens looking back on old stuff versus looking at new stuff. But I do think a lot of the new stuff is genuinely bad, so maybe I'm just a crotchety old guy already.
Like Sharknado, that's a good example. Like they're completely banking on the fact that they know what they're doing is bad, and they're playing up to the social media. And it might work for the first one, but then they did it 4 more times, and you're just like, give me a fucking break. But I think it goes to full feature films now too. They try to use those excuses, like the new TMNT movie, or the studios will try to like say certain things like, oh, but that, you know, people don't really want blah blah blah, and these old movies in the 80s 90s, like, they thought this fucking movie was a masterpiece. And the same goes for all those old Jean-Claude Van Damme movies and shit like that. Like, they went all the fuck out. That's fascinating. Yeah. And everyone on that production took it so seriously and never stepped back from it and really questioned.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. That shit's super fascinating. Like Batman and Robin. Everyone on board that movie while it was happening was fucking on board that movie. And the second it's over, they all look back at themselves and they go, oh, fuck, all the signs were there. You know, like, you take one little half step back and you go, oh, fuck, we got wrapped up in our own bullshit. What were we thinking? You know?
Dan, can you tell Zach how excited you are to see Felicia Day in the new MST3K?
Are you? What do you know about it? Are you a big MST3K fan?
I did. Was it a Kickstarter? I think it was a Kickstarter. I did Kickstart it. I am a big MST3K fan. Here's the thing though, is I just don't have time to ever watch it. It's always so long. And it used to be when I was a kid, my parents would take us down to Florida for like a week over the winter. And we got all these great American channels on TV that we didn't get at home. And I watched a whole lot of Mystery Science Theater 3000 because I couldn't watch it back in Canada. And that was because I didn't want to go outside and enjoy the sun or whatever. But also that was really my opportunity to watch most of it. And it's difficult. Like, I kickstarted it. I want to watch it, but I don't know when I'm gonna find time to watch it.
Yeah,
because the movies are always long.
do it. I'm anxious to see how they do it, especially with like Felicia and Patton Oswalt both on there. It's gonna be interesting. I'm excited to see how it all comes together.
I don't know. Like, did Joel and Mike ever reconcile, or like, is this all just Joel doing it?
I used to know, and then I tuned out all that stuff because I always just try not to care about that shit.
Anyway.
Yeah. Now they're talking about the bad movies being dubbed for television.
Yeah, milk is still sold in bags in Canada.
A lot of other countries sell milk in bags. Most of Central South America sells milk in bags. A lot of places in Europe sell milk in bags. Maybe we're the weird ones.
Yeah, you ever consider that? Hey, I mean,
all the
metric
time.
Is only used everywhere
all
else
the
that's
fucking
civilized.
Time.
So.
When you travel the world, you go, what the fuck is wrong with this? Like, you really sit and think about it, and you're like, man, there's some weird stuff going on here.
Star Trek or Star Wars? For me, Star Trek will always be my first love. It can be painful to go and watch a lot of it, but I was raised on Next Gen and I love it. It'll always have a near and dear spot in my heart, even the bad stuff. That said, I do really like Star Wars as well, but probably Star Trek at the end of the day.
I would have to say Star Wars just because that's what I was raised on.
Yeah.
Like, the original trilogy, we wore through the VHSs more than once. Like, we put them on repeat.
I don't feel like there's a wrong answer
Yeah.
to that. I mean, it all just depends on...
They're both super fucking nerdy in their own way.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting now that all of that stuff is not just pop culture, but cultural... it's part of the collective consciousness in a way. Like, everyone knows what it is. Everybody knows fucking Star Wars.
Yeah.
You're not a nerd to like Star Wars. It used to be a badge of honor in a weird way for Star Trek or Star Wars.
Dan, have you ever experienced crunch, which is referring to in video game development and other software development, but particularly video game development, lots of working late hours to try to get a project out the door? I have experienced crunch. I've been pretty fortunate. I've never worked at a company that didn't take work-life balance seriously, which isn't to say, sometimes deadlines come up and you're not moving fast enough to meet them and you do have to work late or whatever. But I've not had any of the real horror stories that you hear some people having in the video game industry. So
everyone that's employed here has those horror stories now. Yeah, I crunch pretty hard.
Wow.
We make them crunch pretty hard.
That's when you're passionate. That's what you wind up doing.
Or crazy.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite doctor?
Kind of crazy. Favorite doctor, Tennant. Yeah, pretty sure Tennant. big fan of. I love all of them from the new set. But if I were to rank them, it would probably be Tennant, Matt Smith, Christopher Eccleston, and then I can't even remember his name now. Newer guy. Capaldi. And he's good. I just he hasn't moved the stars for me the way the other ones have.
Matt Smith's my favorite, and it might be a lot of the first couple episodes that he was introduced in, because I thought those were really good television.
They were.
And I got very sunk into good production value in television, and that's so much a part of my experience when watching stuff. And then by the end of Matt Smith's run, I was so fucking over Doctor Who in general. Like, it became so... Like, I don't even fucking know. I guess I just kind of got over that style.
It definitely has...
When he was riding a motorcycle up the side of a glass building, I was like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, it definitely, it's one of those shows that, the quality of the episodes varies, and it depends on who's writing it, who's directing it, all of that stuff. Sometimes you have to turn your brain off more than others. But when it's at its best, there's nothing like it. And there's a theory that the first Doctor you see is typically your favorite, and that fits in my case. I started with Tennant, so...
I started with Tennant, but I think I just was always so turned off by the production value. It took, those first couple episodes of Matt Smith where it completely flipped around the production value, where I was like, oh, now this is interesting.
Tennant at his best, though, there's nothing like him. He's a force, an acting force.
Fucking yeah, Jessica Jones.
Yeah,
so good.
Creepy.
Yeah.
Creepy shit.
Yeah. Marvin Martian, message us privately and we'll think about giving it to you. We don't have a P.O. box yet because we haven't had many requests and it costs money. So we've been handing out our address to certain individuals that we can prove aren't crazy people that want to do weird things. So
Torchwood was terrible.
I couldn't get through it.
Yeah.
I couldn't get through it.
Not good stuff. Moffat knows how to set stuff up, but just can't deliver on what he sets up. Yeah, I'd agree with that. All of the best episodes are ones he's written, but they're usually one-offs. His arcs.
Yeah, I'm pretty good with a lot of the one-offs. The Weeping Angels will go down as one of my favorite kind of TV villains.
Yeah.
And that first one-off of them was great, and then the overall plot development can get so convoluted that it's eye roll inducing.
Yeah, and the pieces never really fit together in a way that you're able to even justify to yourself. Dan, what do you miss more, poutine or Timbits? I never got into poutine. It's not gravy and cheese curds on fries. I like all of those things, but I just never really worked for me together. I liked Timbits just fine, but actually I prefer the country style donut holes, which I don't even know if country style exists anymore, but they were a smaller chain that before Tim Hortons blew up everywhere. The franchises I missed most from Canada are Swiss Chalet, Harvey's, and Pizza. And every time I go back there, it's like comfort food for me. I try to get some of those in.
We're about to finish things up, guys. It looks like I need to do a little bit more work on the VR tonight to get ready for tomorrow. I have not planned what I'm going to start painting tomorrow because I haven't had time, because I'm starting to get a little freaked out about stuff that's coming up. I know I said I was going to start fine art tomorrow. That usually takes a lot of preparation and thinking, which I've had no time to do either of because of this thing we've got going next week. We'll see. Maybe I'll have a Eureka moment while I'm in bed tonight, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll do that. Or I'll come in with some sort of reference photo and do something else. We'll see. Pizza. We had one of those in Oregon.
I thought they were in Canada only, but I could be wrong.
We didn't have shit like that where I was from. I mean, we didn't have shit in general. I know Walmart a ways away.
It's weird. Pizza by the slice is a lot less common out here in the States in general.
It's really common in LA.
Yeah.
There's pretty much every pizza place has a pizza by the slice option, and that's pretty common. It's pretty common in New York and Chicago too, right?
To a degree. I mean, New York is definitely its own scene. So yeah, it's pizza by the slice, but I guess it's less standardized. Is that even? I don't know. I don't know that there's an SI unit for pizza or anything like that. But if there was, I would measure my life by it. Dan, do you like hugs? I'm gonna say more often than not I do. I don't like keep a mental list ready to go of the hugs I've had and which ones I liked and didn't, but I think I like hugs, yeah. Dan, what do you do to unwind? I watch bad TV, and I play video games, and I do improv, pretty much.
Cabled X50 says, Zach, you could for one time play something else other than Toprush. Actually, no, because we have front page support for that show, and if they tune in and see we're not doing what we said we would do, we would lose that front page support, and we're not going to do that. So we'll paint something, come up with something.
I'm remembering now. Someone earlier on asked if Mordecai has a thing for mainframe. And the answer to that is, if so, well, it hasn't really come out at all, so.
That was pretty leading. I wasn't really not answering the question.
No, I don't even know why I bothered bringing that up with an answer like that.
Yeah, I was ignoring it.
No.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we're going to start calling it a night. Dan, thank you so much for coming by, answering questions. Thank you guys for sticking around with us. We have to do... Malika is stepping in to say, does someone want Zach's paintings? I forgot about that. We can't move up all my paintings up to Seattle, the paintings that I have left over in LA. So we have a couple paintings that we're selling.
Is that because they're
They're too big.
Oh,
I can't move.
I was gonna assume they were forbidden Nazi paintings.
No, they're just too large. So if there's people that live in Los Angeles area that want some paintings, they're for sale. I don't even know how we'd eBay them. They're 4 by 6 foot canvas paintings. They're nuts.
Oh, that Sharky emoticon. To think I knew him when he was just a mentor spirit. And now he's grown and become so much more.
So we're going to look for somebody to raid, guys. And we're going to go through some people.
So many Sharkies. There is a lot of backstory and relationship between Sharky and Mordecai that I hope I'll get the opportunity to gradually bring out, and you guys can learn more about their relationship.
Looking around, guys. See who I know that's online.
Excited. I haven't been part of a raid yet.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? We should definitely do Dos Valdez as if he's up, because he's going to be working with us on the science thing next Thursday. He is. Dos Valdez is up. So, guys, we're going to be doing Dos Valdez. Get ready. He's playing Dreadnought, too. We were just looking at that today and wondering if we should start playing that on the channel.
thanks everyone who like stuck up for this. This was a lot of fun for me, and whoever called me MVP of the Honesty Hour, that's great because there's only 2 of us. So I like to think I had 50-50 odds.
All right, guys. So let's head over to their chat room and get ready to go. I'll give you guys about 30 seconds to come over. Ready? Ready? Go! Go, 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 go!
Yeah, there goes that. Jeez. Yeah, we should just warp inside the enemy ship, right? I'm gonna warp into the middle of it when I'm like, where did I just warp to?
Get Dane to play KSP. Oh, Kerbal Space Program. You ever heard of that one?
Yeah.
No.
It's an actual, like, space simulator rocket building game.
I'd probably be bad at that actually. It's like
Look at all those missiles.
there are certain things that
It's very cool.
I'm very good at analytically, but if I'm not like right away good at them, I get angry and frustrated and give up. Kind of like Mordecai.
Yeah, those hit nothing, basically. Just see if I can confuse them, maybe. I repaired you a little bit before you took off. Nice, thanks. I appreciate that. And then I died. All of a sudden, look at all the hyperpower rates. What's going on, Joel? We're getting wrecked in Dreadnought over here. We're trying to figure out the flak turrets did 18,000 damage to me. Really? That's a little crazy.
All the Sharkies.
We're playing Dreadnought right now. I don't know if y'all have seen Dreadnought yet. It's like 5v5 space, get stomped on by people who have been playing for a year. I think that's why they gave the codes to the streamers, honestly, so that there would be a bunch of people in here that could get like stomped on by the people that have been playing forever. I'm trying to get up in the front, y'all. What's the flesh at? Okay, I just fired the flechette missiles. And he disappeared.
Yeah, people are trying to get us to play this game. It looks fucking complicated as hell.
Because he's fine now. I can't see.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm reloading. Nice. Nice, I got somebody. No, I didn't. He's still not dead. There, we got him. Alright, there's a big dreadnought down there. Freak down there. Nice. Alright, cool. Good job. What else is going on? There's somebody way up high. Desi is up high. I gotta let my energy recharge. Might as well fire the chest. Why not? Wow, that is actually. Alright, I got the shields up.
Interesting.
What am I getting hit by over and over again?
You're getting hit by one of those long range guys, I think.
I still got Grandpa. I don't know what that is that's hitting me over and over again, but it's a little ridiculous, honestly. Can I get that guy? Oh, I got the healer with the tractor beam. Oh, but he put a rock in between us and lost the tractor beam. Nice. Alright.
Ha ha ha, Zach, you're still kind of live.
Yeah, we are. I need to go get the rebroadcast up. Yeah, people can click through. All right.
All right. Thanks again, everyone.